All right, guys, what's going on? Good morning to everybody in Australia. Wednesday morning. It is 6:30 a.m. This will be my first live stream of the day. I'm going to go live again in about 5 hours. In between those live streams, guys, I am going to be uploading my edited analysis, breakdown, and prediction of the main event this Friday night in Coachella in Indio between Gucci Mane, Manuel Flores versus Jorge Chavez. So that is coming up next. I just uploaded on our channel yesterday my first Stats Don't Lie video of the week, breakdown, analysis, and prediction of a good fight, a main event in New York between Xander Zayas and Chino Garcia. So initially I was torn on that matchup in terms of where I was going with my pick and my bet, but after, I think I probably watched, sometimes we overthink things. I think I might have watched too much tape on Chino and Xander. Xander's only 22. So this is going to be a guy, in my opinion, each time he fights, at least within the next few years, if you're doing film study, it might just be worth watching his last fight in terms of coming up with an analysis. Because you get, you could watch veterans and you could, especially with a guy with their styles already developed, you really don't have to watch too many fights to kind of get a good inkling. Some guys you have to. Maybe they're unknown. With Xander, I feel every time he fights, he adds a little bit. As you guys are checking in, I appreciate you. All the Johnny Says Boxing Insiders. We launched our Discord just a couple days ago, and that's growing. The Discord group is a private VIP group. To get access to that, it's only a couple bucks a month. That link is pinned in all of our live streams. This way, the group, it's forming and it's growing bit by bit, and it gives you guys autonomy in terms of you guys can post everything there. I don't have to moderate it, but I could post it there as well. Goat brought up a good point yesterday. Goat, if you want to put your, training up in that group as well, feel free to, because I'm also a coach. My bread and butter is strength and conditioning coach and boxing coach. If you guys have any questions about any of that side of sort of thing, from a programming side on your strength stuff to even a technical side, you could use that Discord group to ask me. You guys could use the Discord group. This is what I hope you use it for, to talk to each other, pick each other's brains on your picks, because sometimes you guys will talk me out of a bet that I want to put on this live stream, and then I'll listen to you, and then I win. The Michael Johnson fight last week, great example. I was going to go Michael Johnson fight to get stopped, and I got talked out of it, and then it went the distance. So that's an example. So yeah, join that Discord group. Link's pinned. It's a couple bucks a month. All the boys on this live stream, the ones with the blue star, are in that Discord group, and it's an ongoing chat. So I'm still learning how to use that app, and feel free to add in your sort of 2 cents for anything else on the channel. I'm currently working on using the software that Goat requested. So right now I'm streaming on my iPhone. So the iPhone I have is the latest version. So the newer iPhone tech is great camera, great microphone, all that good stuff. But the problem with the iPhone streaming capability, it doesn't allow me to share a screen. So you guys, like right now I have my Mac and I have my sports betting app. And when I get into the nitty gritty of this video talking about the odds and building our parlays, it'd be good for you guys could see it on the screen. So I'm learning how to do that. Right now, my Mac is a couple years old, and I think I'm going to wait until I get a new one. That might be either next week or the week after. But anyway, as you guys are checking in, I appreciate everybody. I like that card. Iman, you got your third amateur fight coming up. Mate, dude, let us know. Iman, make sure, I see you're an insider. Make sure you join our Discord, because in that Discord group, we got a lot of boxers, amateur boxers. I know Kane, if Kane taps in on this live stream, you'll see Kane, C-A-I-N. He's an amateur boxer, younger. I think he's younger, late teens. He fights out of Australia. So use that Discord group to network. And you guys know, man, when you talk to either former boxers, guys who are really fans of the sport, younger guys who are developing themselves, an important like-minded group or a social network is very important. So I think that's 100% was my goal to build on this channel, and we're doing that, and it's growing, and we're doing that in the Discord just to a smaller scale. So, mate, good luck on that third amateur fight, man. Go after it. I would just suggest going full on. I'm sure your coach says in a firefight, don't get caught halfway in. You're either in engaging or out of range. I would suggest to do that with everything in your life, whether you want to pursue a boxing career or want to write a book. You have to go all in or all out, especially in boxing. It's such a brutal sport. So I tip my hat to you. And keep us posted. Let us know, mate. Let us know how you go. Let us know if, I know a lot of the boys travel to see the fights. I know Goat was at the fights in New York. And I know Gary from 3D Boxing from Texas. He's not, he's always going to fights. That's another network to tap into. We share each other's content and stuff like that. What's up, Money Meech? So we're about 6 minutes in. We could start getting down to business in terms of putting those parlays together. I already gave you my upset two-legger. For sure, Iman. I already gave you my upsets of the week. I know it's fun. Some of the, if you're just betting on fights entertainment-wise, that's how I always suggest you do it. It's in those upsets that's where it gets fun. You could turn $10 into $500, and then you could turn $20 into $1,000. You guys get my point. But, for upsets to hit at 15 to 1, 20 to 1, you got to expect the losses. My point is, I put up a 9 to 1 that I really like, and we always really like the upsets until they happen, right? It's like, bro, this is going to happen. This dude's going to upset this dude. Both of those fighters are fighting in the UFC. I'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about Manny Flores. Gucci Mane is fighting Manuel Flores from Indio, from Coachella. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they pretty much built this card around him. So I keep saying Friday because it's my Friday in Australia. This is Thursday night boxing in America. I miss Thursday night boxing. Growing up in America, I think ESPN. No, it was Friday night fights. Friday night fights in boxing. They don't do that. Do they do that anymore in America? The Friday night fights on ESPN? I don't think so. That's where my buddy Kelly first started getting his fights. I remember watching Terrence Crawford on Friday night fights back in the day. But this is a Friday fight for me, a Thursday night fight in America. Indio, Coachella Valley. Manuel Flores headlining versus Jorge Chavez. Jorge Chavez is undefeated. He goes about his business a bit differently. Jorge Chavez likes to pride himself, in his own words, as the better boxer. He claims he has better defense. He claims he could crack. Manny Flores, Gucci Mane, he's coined himself. People, who are in the know, they like his punching power. They like his aggression. They like his ability to end the show. Granted, I think he's 19-1. He might be 20-1. Jorge's 14-0 with 8 knockouts. And Manny is 20-1. Manny lost a wide decision only a couple years ago. He has 16 knockouts out of his 20 wins. So this is a fun matchup. And the odds are juicy. The odds are saucy on it. So the odds could either juice up a parlay for you, or you could go a little two-legger. So I have right now Manny Flores on the money line. He's $1.37. 100 on him to win gets you your money back plus 37. Remember, guys, the book I use in Australia forces me to do a three-way market, meaning that a draw loses. So just like if you would have picked the winner of Manny or Barrios last week and you're in Australia, either way, because it was a draw, you lost. So that's why sometimes you see the odds are a little bit better on my end, but there's a double-edged sword to that. Draw 16-1. Jorge Chavez is a $3.45 dog. 100 on him gets you your money back plus $245. It's worth looking at your book. And look, Jorge Chavez is a live dog. He's undefeated. He's definitely going in there thinking he could win. This is going to be a pro Flores crowd, but it's in Southern California. And, both guys will have their cheering section there. It's a fun, decent card too. Right now on my book, I'm only getting that fight to bet on. I'm pretty sure there's some good up-and-coming guys who had good amateur. Is Nathan Lugo on this card? Maybe I read that wrong. He was a good amateur. No, Lugo might be on the OTX card. So this card, Grant Flores, one of you boys said that's one of your... I know one of the guys on our channel, his coach is fighting on this card. Ricardo Velez is tapping in. Yesterday, he was selling us on Cotto's comeback. Marisa in the house. Everyone's checking in. I appreciate you. Yeah, so the only fight I'm getting action on the Indio card is Manny Flores versus Chavez. I'm uploading my prediction right now. I like Gucci Mane in that fight. I do. Let's look at the rest of this fights. We talked about all week Xander Zayas and Chino. If you want to see my prediction, it's on the channel. We could talk about that. I'm going to go to the rest of that Clarissa Shields card real quick in Detroit, because we know Chino and Xander are fighting in New York. We know Clarissa is fighting in Detroit. We know Gucci Mane is fighting in California. And, okay, so you got Tony Harrison on this card. I don't know how comfortable. I mean, he should be getting fed a win. Tony Harrison's a Detroit guy. He should be get fed. I think they're going to feed him a win. I'm probably not even going to be allowed to bet on that fight. Devell Smith, 76 in the world. He's 12-0, fighting a guy named Martez McGregor, who's 9-8. Yeah, I don't see much on that card, to be honest with you. The Detroit card doesn't look like I'm going to get any action. And Clarissa Shields is such a big favorite. Right now, I think I have her at $1.04. I mean, is that even worth throwing on a parlay? I mean, she's a lock if you want to get sexy with it. And sometimes if you guys haven't been hitting, this is advice that I'd give you. Let's say you guys are going through a rough patch with your bets. Maybe you keep, you're winning 4 out of 5. You're winning 3 out of 4. It's always one, right? It's always one leg short. Clarissa Shields, this week might be one of those weeks where you just put together some big favorites just to create some momentum on your end of winning. So you're going to the shoes. That's a good card, Buzzler. Buzzler, keep us posted on how that goes in person. I'd like to know. Yeah, Bruce. So to put a finishing point on that thought, in the past, if let's say I need a win, right? Just psychologically I need a win. And you don't even need to go heavy. That's the only way I would ever put like Bruce Carrington at minus 8,000 on a card. His odds are insane. Granted, he's fighting an undefeated guy, an African fighter, and his handlers, Hayata, are gonna tell you he has a puncher's chance because he could punch, but there's definitely levels to this. Shields is $1.04, Carrington's $1.01, Polanco's down to $1.09. Earlier in the week, Polanco was at $1.14. I think people are realizing that matchup, Polanco versus Randall. It should be competitive while it's competitive, but I think things will go downhill pretty quick. Rohan Polanco is a very exciting, we got to call him a contender, right? He's cracked the top 15. His handlers feel that this guy's going to be a world champion. Another fighter from the Dominican. 16-0, 10 knockouts. Yeah, he's ranked number 6 in the world. He's on the cusp of fighting for a world title. Only 26 years old, 5'10". It's time. We want to see him stepping up, coming off a decision win over Maidana. Thoughts on Navarro? Give me a second on that. I just saw those odds. I just want to double check Navarro. Oh, wow. I spoke too soon. The Tony Harrison fight did get added. Steven Navarro versus Christopher Rios. Navarro's a huge favorite, guys. 100 on Navarro only gets you your money back plus $6. That's going to be on the... Is that on the top rank card? Yeah. Yeah, guys, we traditionally make a lot of money here on Top Rank. Over the last 6 months, personally, in terms of my wallet, I make the most of my money on the Japan cards. I've been doing really good on Japanese cards. So every time I see a main event in Japan, I'm like this. I've been doing a lot of good work also on Top Rank cards due to GOAT. GOAT and I think Muscles put me onto the Top Rank matchmaking. And say what you will about promotions, A-sides, B-sides. Guys, as bettors, as guys who tune into these live streams routinely, who want more than just the breakdown, who want to, get some insider info on where to put the money at, you got to talk about A-side versus B-side. Mike Ross in the house. So it's a thing, right? It's a thing. This isn't conspiracy. This isn't us wearing tinfoil hats. It's really a thing. And the reason why I love the Japanese cards, we'll get to the reason why I like the Japanese cards is because you could break down the tape pretty fairly and be secure with not getting robbed. I haven't seen in the last year, I'm only speaking on the last year for me, decisions going the wrong way in Japan. It's almost like the honor that the Japanese carry with them into the ring. The judges have that same, even if it's a Mexican coming from Mexico in a close fight, and the Mexican clearly was up 2 rounds, they give it to the Mexican fighter. We've seen this. So based on that, your due diligence, your film study usually pays off in Japan. The top ranked cards are a bit different on the other hand. The top ranked cards are more about matchmaking, A side versus B side, and seeing the wide odds. So figuring out, it's going to come down to, like right now, Rohan Polanco A side. People are kind of hesitant on Santana. Giancarlo Santana. I like Santana. Alameda has, when they look, Santana only has 14 pro fights. Alameda has over 30 pro fights. Salute, recovery room at the gym, about to hit the red light there. Get after it. Make sure you're stretching too and hydrating. I did my first workout of the day. When you guys catch me on this live stream Monday through Friday, it's my 6:30 a.m. So I've already done my 40 minutes of mobility with an online client right before this. So I'm all loose. And then I'm going to go on like a 5K run. And then I'm going to come back and upload a video. And then I'm going to eat. And then I'm going to do a live. And then I'm going to go power lift. And then I'm going to go see my girl. So my day, I literally have created, I mean, I'm super grateful. Like, I love coaching. I'm the type of, I got into coaching to help people. And I've interconnected everything else I do in my free time into helping people. It's 4:46 Eastern. Good. You've had a good day then. Tuesday. All right. So if you look at Navarro, to answer your question, long-winded, Navarro's going to get that victory. Wow. I didn't even see Emiliano Vargas. He's a huge favorite. Jalalev, if you want to take those odds, those are going to be crazy. I really like Polanco, Santana, Zayas. Let's see what that pays. Just on the money line without getting too fancy. Polanco. So Santana's at $1.16 now. He was at $1.25 earlier. So Santana, Polanco's down to $1.09. I'm just going on the money line, boys. Yeah, Alameda's a vet. Alameda has over 30 pro fights. I'm just talking on the money line. And Xander. Okay, it's only $1.60. Once again, Polanco, Santana, Xander, 3-legger. It's only $1.60, meaning $60 on 100. But if you maximize that and look at your return of investment, that's over, that's over 50%. You don't get that return of investment on any sort of. So if you're betting $10 on that, you're getting $6 back. My point is, I think those are locks, and those are on the money line. Carl Phil, Amir Abu Baker. Let me see if I'm getting that. Abu Baker. I'm not getting it on my book. It might open up. I mean, Ryan Gardner versus Reese Balot. Oh, yeah, I see it. Good call, mate. Who is that giving me the heads up on that? Good call on that. I am seeing Carl Phil, Amir Abu Baker, $1. I got to do my research. I'm not one to just pick fights due to the odds. Like, I'm not one to bet money if I'm, like, seeking out my book. I'm like, ooh, those are good odds. Those are even odds. I'm going to take the dog. I never do that at this stage of the game unless I do the research on the matchup. So right now, I appreciate you giving me the heads up on the fight. I just got to research it. I don't know much about those guys. I mean, Manny Flores versus Jorge Chavez are similar odds. Troy, we'll get to the UFC in a little bit. We're 20 minutes into this. Let's like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Join our Discord. The Discord is VIP. It's only a couple bucks a month. That link is pinned. Yeah, I don't know who Carl Phil is. Chat, who does he have in his parlay? Zayas or Garcia? King picks Xander. I'm taking Xander over Chino. With much research. I was initially leaning on, because I like Chino Garcia. I'm a fan of him. I like how he's moved throughout his career. I think Chino should be 36-1. If you look at Chino's losses, his only real loss on the cards was to Carlos Ocampo 5 years ago. Ocampo won a wide, I think a 10-rounder. This was 5 years ago. Chino Garcia is tough, man. I can't speak highly enough about him. My favorite thing about Garcia is how he adapts within a fight. I don't think he's going to get fraud checked, and I don't even think that that's a real thing. Saying like the idea in profession getting fraud checked is kind of a casual thing to say, but yeah, I think Xander beats Chino. I'm leaning on when it comes down to it, Chino's going to be there. Chino's never been dropped. He's never been stopped. He's going to be tough as nails. I think it's a perfect opportunity. Rather than saying that Chino's going to get fraud checked, I'd rather say, to be fair to both fighters, that Chino is going to put Xander in a position for Xander to level up. And Xander is going to he has the opportunity to be the youngest world champion in boxing on the male side. He's only 22. 5'11", 22, good frame. I mean, we have the possibility to be looking at a kid at 22 who could win titles at 60 in the future, maybe 68. We'll have to see. But I like Xander on the money line. And what's up, Kane? I brought you up earlier. And if you don't like the money line, just take the fight to go the distance. I don't know if Fundora keeps evolving. Fundora's turning, Fundora's evolving into his grown man style. Dude, watching Fundora's snap on his punches this time around against Tim, we talked about it yesterday on our live stream, learning how to punch down and turn those punches over. Yeah, Fundora's on his grown man. And he's, it's so easy for us to say, Tim should have worked the body. Tim should have, mate, you try working the body on a 6'6", massive, puncher who's flat-footed punching down on you. And he's learning to use that frame. He's not, like I said, there's certain taller, like Mario Barrios is 6 feet tall. Obviously, that's not 6'6", but for 6 feet tall at 147, Mario has fought at 140 before. Mario doesn't use his height when he punches. Not every taller fighter. You see a lot with taller fighters, they kind of match and mirror their opponent. Seb is like, kind of like how Tommy Hearns used to punch. Tommy was actually, Tommy had much more mobility in his movement, and Tommy is, I'm not comparing their careers or legacy to each other. I mean, the Motor City Cobra is one of my favorite punchers of all time. But when you look at Hearns using his length in terms of developing torque and power with that reach, Seb is learning to do that. He's still stiff. There's definitely rooms for improvement, but Xander's not ready for Fundora yet. I think if Xander answers these questions, I think Chino is a great test. A lot of the boxing casuals don't know Chino Garcia, so you're seeing like in the comments section, Xander's fighting another trash can. Xander's fighting another tomato can. It's like, bro, tell us you're a casual without telling us you're a casual. Chino Garcia, like I said, should be 36-1. Never been dropped, never been stopped. He totally neutralized Conwell's game plan. So one could say Conwell got fraud checked. I don't think so. I think with Charles Conwell, I'd rather use the word exposed. Sometimes a fighter's game plan, a fighter's success works until it doesn't work. And how is a young fighter supposed to know they're supposed to go to a plan B until they're forced to go to a plan B? Think about Zhu versus Murtazayev. I mean, granted, he had already lost to Fundora, but Zhu's style, fighting on the straight line, going in on a straight line, punching with a puncher, that worked for him until it didn't work against Murtazayev. Charles Conwell's style worked for him until it didn't work against Chino Garcia. And so I was more impressed with Chino and kind of taken aback that Conwell couldn't make adjustments in the moment. So that's the thing that when you're thinking about this matchup, Garcia, he's shown to have a high fight IQ. He's shown to have volume when he wants to on his front foot. He's also shown to be able to box off the back foot, fight in the clinch. He was smothering Conwell's work in the clinch that entire fight when Conwell was trying to over aggressively land big shots. And Chino never looked deterred. Chino never looked uncomfortable. Oh yeah, I missed. Gabby's my favorite female boxer, so I must have missed something in the chat. Yeah, Gabby Fundora is very fun to watch. We covered Gabby, her last fight against Badillo, and we won money on Gabby. We picked Gabby under 7 by stoppage over 1 knockdown against a girl. I think Badillo maybe was 12-0. I mean, she was a Mexican. No offense. She was like a club level, but it's the female division. A lot of boxers, we always talk about, due to the lack of depth in the female divisions, you win a couple fights in a row, you put together a 10, 11, 12-0 record, you're going to fight for titles, and then you're going to run into a buzzsaw like Gabby Fundora in that weight class. And she's aggressive. She stands right there in the pocket. I think Gabby stops Shanika Johnson. Shanika, like, no shade against Shanika. She looked great against Chicken. She looked great against Metcalf. But when I look at Shanika Johnson, I still see like a CrossFit girl. There's a lot of CrossFit girls who are into boxing now. When I look at Gabby, I look at a knockout artist. I look at a boxer. I look at a girl. You could tell Gabby's mom was a fighter. You could tell Gabby grew up in a boxing family. There's a lot of girls though that have hit the mainstream in boxing who are kind of just fitness girls who started boxing. And there's a difference when you go up against a girl like Gabby who could snap and crack. In terms of distance, timing, range, countering, what she does on her shots. You don't ever see girls sitting down on their shots like that. Mate, she is fun to watch. So yeah, how big of a star Gabby Fundora becomes is literally going to depend on her family, I feel. Sometimes that sounds crazy, doesn't it? Sometimes a family or sometimes a camp kind of holds their fighter back in terms of wanting to keep, not push them too far forward or not expose them to too many sort of nuanced distractions that may take away from their focus. That's kind of what I mean by that. Brian Gianella. Yeah, you're talking to the choir here, Aaron Gianella. Brian Norman Jr. We always feature him on the channel. Norman Jr. is, what's going to happen is Xander Zayas has the opportunity against Chino to do what Norman Jr. did against Cuevas and Sasaki and show that he keeps leveling up. Because Norman Jr. is a throwback. He's a throwback boxer outside of the ring, how he carries himself. He's a throwback boxer, how he boxes. I look at Brian Norman Jr., mate, with his hooks. I see flashes of Joe Frazier. And I know Frazier was a heavyweight. Frazier was a small heavyweight. Frazier had one of the deadliest lead hooks of all time. Just in terms of how Frazier was so hell-bent on mixing it up and landing his power shots. I see some of that in Brian Norman Jr. And at 147, at only 24 years old, Brian Norman Jr. is a problem. I mean, everyone could talk a big game, and I know a lot of the loyalists, there's a lot of contrarians in boxing, meaning that it's part of our sport. If there comes a guy who breaks through out of nowhere, who becomes a champion, and then he starts challenging a guy who's been there for a little longer, no matter the guy who's been there for a little longer, no matter their path, there'll always be fans who cheer against the newer guy who's popping through. And this is what we're seeing online with Devin Haney's. People went from hating Devin Haney, which I don't understand. I understand people who are haters. I don't. To now defending him against Brian Norman Jr. And you could talk all you want. You could hype a fight up all you want. The truth is, if that fight goes down in November, Devin Haney is going to have to punch with Brian Norman Jr. Brian Norman Jr. has legit world-class hand speed. Brian Norman Jr. has better feet than people think. Brian Norman Jr.'s mindset is he wants to get into a dogfight. He was the first guy to stop Cuevas. Cuevas was supposed to be a challenge. We have to remember Alex Rocha, he was the favorite against Gio Santillan. Santillan went in as the underdog and won that fight. Santillan goes in as the favorite against Norman. Norman was the underdog. Norman goes in and wins that fight. And then Norman went on to beat Cuevas. Cuevas was supposed to be the bigger puncher. Don't rewrite history, guys. Don't rewrite history now because Norman's a champion. You guys say he hasn't fought anyone. Do your homework. And then going into Japan, this kid put his hand up as a 24-year-old and traveled to Japan to fight Jin Sasaki. And you guys, when I was doing my breakdown, some of you boys were picking Sasaki, so don't front on that either. So I keep all receipts. And we called Norman Jr. for what it was. We called his hand speed. We called his power. We called the finish. I called the round. We hit huge on that. And Sasaki's aggression and his power worked against him. Devin Haney poses a different, obviously, puzzle to solve. But to think that Brian Norman Jr. is one-dimensional and that he can't solve that puzzle is that. I mean, where it stands now, I mean, I think Norman Jr. would stop Haney, right? I mean, that's not my official prediction. I think Norman Jr. would give Haney everything he wants. Xander may lose and Pac-Man may lose. Pac-Man? Are you in a time machine? Chino's worse. Goku, we read that, mate. Goku. Did you... hot take, and I think Conwell was seriously overrated. Yeah. Yep. GOAT, 100%. I feel you on that. Except for Matthias. Except for Subriel. DJ. This fool's in a time machine. He's like, yo, man, I think Pac-Man might beat Barrios out here. What are we talking about out here? If Haney loses, I mean, what is Devin's only 27? He's still young. You just got to question how much does Devin want it. He's talking a better game. There's no... I don't think anybody would sit here and suggest that what you hear out of Brian Norman Jr. is fake. Boxing. Yeah, Haney, I get it. I think something that's important to talk about, though, is when you hear Devin Haney speak, when you hear him hyping up a fight, when you hear the words that come out of his father, it's tough to believe that he believes everything he says. But then you have fighters like when you hear Brian Norman Jr. speak, I don't think anybody would say that he doesn't believe everything he says. My biggest Shushu by decision. I'm not getting options on Bruce Carrington for method of victories. Guys, Bruce is such a huge favorite against the quote-unquote big puncher from Africa that they're not giving me options. So if he's $1, guys, Carrington, I'm high on Carrington. I like that whole division. I like 126. My favorite guy at 126 is Espinoza. I think that Rafa Espinoza is a nightmare. I want to see Espinoza versus Carrington at 26. But I want to see... We'll see what Inoue does. Johnny, no front. Copyright that. Yeah, we're only in July. There's so much to talk about, I know. Jacques Cousteau, I'm worried about. Yeah, it's in November. It's far away. I was only touching that because you guys asked. Angelo Leo versus Espinoza. It's a good fight. We covered Leo in his last fight. I like what Pro Box is doing with Angelo. He went to Japan. We won money on him. Fought a tough fight. Got the dub. I think Rafa's a different level. Yeah, I think Rafa's a different level. I think Rafa Espinoza has a different class to his game. You know what I mean? Like, how do I put this? When you watch Espinoza go about his work, it's never about what his opponent is showing him. Espinoza's style is he's adamant on imposing his will. He's adamant on executing his game plan. He's adamant at chopping his opponent down. And that's a joy to watch when it's done successfully. Sometimes when you watch Leo, he still kind of looks like he's figuring things out in there. He's sort of match and mirroring his opponent. He's fun to watch. Like I said, we feature him on the channel. I think it's a bad matchup, Espinoza versus Leo, though. 27-0 with 23 knockouts at 126 pounds, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. When you're watching Espinoza fight, and you're seeing him cut the distance, and he's in the pocket throwing those uppercuts like that. Like those guys at 126 have never been hit with punches coming from those angles. So like, if you look at punching as physics, angles, distance from where the punch is being thrown to where the punches land. Similar with Seb punching down, similar sort of thing. King picks, what's up, buddy? Crawford versus Canelo. That's in September. We got to start thinking about it. I've been thinking about that fight since Crawford asked for it 2 years ago. Let's go over something real quick, though, because we got into a debate last night with Nick Ball and Sam Goodman. I was kind of shocking some of you guys with how I was predicting that fight to go down. So 126, no, you know, whatever you think about BoxRec's algorithm, however they go about their business, 126 right now. Rafa's at 1, Nick Ball's at 2, Fulton's at 3. People kind of sleep on Fulton, mate. I mean, after watching Fulton, his last performance against Figueroa, I was like, I thought Fulton was going to be checked out, by the way, here. But then I saw his performance against Figueroa, and I'm like, damn, Fulton still, people still have to answer a lot of things when they fight Stephen Fulton. Luis Nery at 4, Brandon Figueroa's at 5, Angelo Leo's at 6. We just saw Picasso at 7, Robesi's at 9, and Shushu right now is at 12. I mean, Nathaniel Collins is at 16. Nobody talks about Nathaniel Collins. We feature Nathaniel Collins on the channel. He fought Lee McGregor. I don't know. You know, right now he's still kind of a domestic guy in the UK. He's a fun fighter, though. I think he's undefeated. Yeah, 17-0. So 126 has some interesting names. Fulton versus Shaky. Yeah, Fulton has a fight coming up, right? I know, nothing's in paper. I thought Fulton was supposed to fight. Yeah, so he's 2-0 since the Inoue loss. Yeah, there's certain guys who have that sort of knockout aura to them. So when, you know, certain guys will fight guys and then stop them, and then the guy who gets stopped is never the same. I thought, you know, kudos to Fulton. I thought after the way Fulton got stopped against Inoue, I wasn't really expecting much from him after, but he's 2-0 since. I think I don't think he stops McGee. Marcus McGee, I'll tell you what my reasoning on that. Give me a second. Dude, just give me 1 second before you guys bait me into, I guess we are for 40 minutes in. I'm currently, boys, getting baited into a UFC debate, so give me a second. I'm still looking at 126 pounds in boxing because we're talking about Rafa Espinoza, but you guys are talking about my upset of the week with Marcus McGee. I seen Fulton pretty dead ass look like an 8th grader. You think Goku? Then take Yan. I mean, Yan, in my opinion, is super. I love that ass whooping anyway. Put on Fulton. I'm from Philly. I was eating some. To fit your narrative, King Picks, wouldn't you then say I was eating some sushi while I was watching that fight, or was that just a coincidence that Inoue was fighting? Kind of just lost on what you were saying there. Robesi Ramirez retired. What are you talking about? Robesi Ramirez, I didn't hear that. Maybe he did retire. I know he's medically suspended since he got stopped. Maybe he did retire. Maybe he did retire. I didn't hear that, though, but he's medically suspended. And, yeah, getting stopped against Rafa, yeah, especially that first loss against Rafa, he was kind of with deer in the headlights. He wasn't expecting. Rafa was a huge underdog. I think he was a 3-1 dog. But, yeah, I am – okay, let me clarify my point. So when you guys say I'm picking against Peter Yan, every week I started the live stream with my intention on this. Every week you guys ask me for what are the upsets of the week. I'm looking at boxing. I don't see many upsets in boxing. So I looked at the UFC, and He's not 38 or 39. He's 35 years old. Marcus McGee is a dog. If you don't know anything about Marcus McGee, read his story. Watch where he comes from. Look at how many people don't want to fight him. Look how athletic he is. Look what he does on the feet. Look what he does on the ground. Look how he grapples. Look how he does submissions. Peter Yan, 32 years old. He's an old 32. He's a smaller. He's been in wars. He's a great boxer. He's a former world champion. But right now at this stage of the game, at least for me, for Peter Yan, I kind of put Peter Yan in that category. What happens with former UFC champions, especially in the lighter weight classes, is he was looking invincible until he wasn't. Think about Cody Garbrandt when Garbrandt was a world champion. He was looking invincible until he wasn't. And sometimes these guys who are sort of world champions, they lose their belt. They kind of end up trying to get their belt back. They rush their work. They kind of rush their game plans. I think this is a bad matchup for McGee. I think McGee beats him. I think McGee beats him. McGee's a dog, dude. And also the Robert Whittaker fight. I started interviewing Robert Whittaker when Rob was 25 years old in 2016. I'm friends with Robert Whittaker. I remember he was living in a one-bedroom apartment in Green Acres with his young wife and his young son, Jack. Jack might have been 2 years old at the time. Jack's 10 or 11 now. Huge fan of Robert. He's fighting Rene de Riddier, dude. De Riddier is a Dutch fighter. He beat my boy Ong Luan Song twice in one championship. De Riddier beat him at 205 and 185. De Riddier is a good grappler, good wrestler, really, really good on the ground, and he could strike. And he has that young energy. He might not be young, but this dude's on a trajectory to become a world champion. Robert Whittaker has had some miles on him. I don't want to call Robert Whittaker. He's not done. He's going to be a tough fight, but look at the fights de Riddier fought against Ong Luan Song. Ong Luan Song is one of the greatest fighters you guys never heard of. He's from Yangon, Myanmar, two-weight world champion for a long time for one championship. He lives in Florida. He's been with the Black Zillions his whole career. He's a beast. He's always in Josh Van's corner. You go to Yangon, Myanmar, you'll see a 30-foot bronze statue of Ong Luan Song. He's a freaking legend. And de Riddier beat him twice and took both belts from him. And that's when I was like, holy shit. And so those are my two upsets. De Riddier against my boy Rob, and I like McGee to beat Yan. I'm just saying, and these are they're underdogs. So I'm not telling you, that's my reasoning too. I'm not just saying because the odds are in their favor. I was shocked to see McGee that big of a dog. Yeah, and Rainer, man, De Rainer is a dog, dude. Those are some good fights. Boxing fan. Yeah, so good point. Join the Discord, guys. The Discord, Johnny says Boxing Insider. Pinned in the comment. Then, you think McGee gets smoked? That's fair. He could get smoked. Has there ever been a time that you like it? Yeah, great question. So, I like the UFC more than boxing from 2010 to 2015. Basically, when my buddy Kelly, when my boy Pavlik retired from boxing, Kelly retired when we were 29. We were 29 or 30 because he had a seizure. So when Kelly retired, and up until that, I was, at every fight. I was at every fight and I was living in LA at the time, from the, who was the kid he fought? Max Sertuche fight. I was at the Max Sertuche fight, to the Edson Miranda fight, to the Jermaine Taylor, the first fight. And then when Kelly retired, I kind of was like, And so I had always watched MMA, though. I've been watching UFC since Jump. I watch all the Pride fights, so Pride fighting out of Japan. I watch all the WEC fights. So, I remember when Cub Swanson was a WEC champion. I remember Uriah Faber fighting Aldo. I remember, Dominic Cruz being the champion. I remember, who's the kid that Sugar Sean O'Malley knocked out with one punch? He was a world champion in the WEC. He was a stud. And so I remember when the UFC didn't have guys under 155. So I've still watched to this day every UFC fight. Carlos Leo's a dog, but Salikov, isn't that the king of Kung Fu? Is Salikov the king of Kung Fu? Polanco might go the distance. Polanco, he's legit. I lived in Long Beach. So I lived in Long Beach, California, the 562 for about 7 years. Right on the border of Long Beach and Seal Beach, so Belmont Shore. So if you're gonna live in LBC, if you ask me, that's where you live. It was one of the best times of my life. I worked at a Latin nightclub going to school. Did you hear about Dubois' party? Yeah, I did. What's up, Ja? Guys, Daniel Dubois had a party. There's footage of it before the Usyk fight. But this is nothing new, guys. This is a famous Hollywood trope. If you guys are, it's a archetype. We've seen the storyline in movies. The athlete gets the opportunity of a lifetime. The fighter fights the biggest fight of his life, and the night before, he can't control his nerves, so he goes out and gets hammered, or he goes out and, gambles. He goes, whatever it is. It's a popular Hollywood trope in movies. So you see this all the time. This comes down to Dubois. It's a discipline thing. It really is. It's a discipline issue. And I know the opposite argument to that would be everybody handles stress differently. You have got like Daniel Cerrone, Cowboy Cerrone was famous in the UFC and the WEC for during fight week, skydiving. During fight week, 3 days before the fight, he'd be jumping off of cliffs. And, he famously gave an interview back in the day talking about this, how he'd be so nervous. He didn't know how to control his nerves. For fight week, he had to do something that scared him to help level the nerves out before the fight. This Daniel Dubois thing's it's kind of akin to that, but the delivery is different. Dubois is more self-sabotage. I wasn't there. I haven't seen the footage. I don't know if Dubois was drinking or partying, but if he had a party, to me, that sounds like he wanted to create a built-in excuse for if things didn't go his way, that he'd be able to reason with himself afterwards if things didn't go his way. Yeah, looking at Robesi's face, his shock. That first Rafa fight was interesting. Which is your favorite Rocky Creed movie? I mean, I would initially jump on boxing fan. My favorite Rocky movie, I would probably back in the day would have said Rocky IV in Russia with Ivan Drago, just because the soundtrack was so lit. But storyline, man, the very first one is so powerful. The very first one showed people how good of a writer Stallone was. I always tell people, Stallone's one of the most underrated American writers, believe it or not. He wrote all of those. And, I'm a published author. I write every day. So writing's one of my favorite hobbies as well. I remember being a young kid, I had to keep my nerd from my friends. I always tell people this, because I grew up playing sports, boxing, growing up in Northeast Ohio in the 90s. Like writing, I remember I had to keep that away from my friends to tell them that I liked reading books. I liked writing. But anyway, the storyline of Rocky 1, mate, there's some scenes in there, dude, when Rocky gets the fight against Apollo and everybody was throwing him away up until that point. He had already asked Mick to coach him, and then Mick shows up at Rocky's little rundown, dingy apartment, and there's that scene in the hallway, and Mickey's talking about his prime, and Rocky's in the bathroom, and he hits the wall. He's like, "Prime, Mick, what about my prime? I ain't have no fucking prime. Legs don't work, and body shot, head hurts, no balance, kid." And he goes on that rant, and you're just watching it like, holy shit, dude. It's a powerful scene, dude. And then Mick leaves, and then Rocky follows him down the stairs and catches him, and then the camera pans out, and you don't really hear what Rocky says to him, but they kind of make up, and then the storyline moves forward. So when you dissect the storyline of Rocky 1, mate, Jesus, it sets the stage for all of them. But visually, optically, with the soundtrack, I know Rocky 4 is my favorite. The scene, I think in the first or second round, when Rocky cuts Drago in his corner, "See, Rock, he's a man, he's not a machine." And the announcer's like, "The Russian's cut, he's cut." And then the music drops, doom. Come on, dude. I saw Rocky 1 for the first time before my semester coming back. I've been forced to take a gap semester. Yeah, and the movies hold up. But then, Rocky 2, the rematch with Apollo, starts getting a little bit of money. Rocky 3 with Mr. T. that's a classic trope. You know, Mr. T, the fighter, nobody wants to fight, the dangerous puncher, showing up at the press conferences, showing up. Shannon Briggs took a little page out of that book. I mean, wasn't it Muhammad Ali or was it Frazier or Ali, famous for trying to get the fight again? It's a famous trope, going to your opponent's hometown, going to your opponent wherever they're eating. You know the story with Shannon Briggs going to Russia, trying to find Klitschko to get the fight. So that's a famous boxing trope with Clubber Lang, and he gets the fight. So yeah, it's great writing. Guys, we're approaching an hour. What's up, Boston Mikey? So we're midweek for me. We got fights in 2 days in Coachella. The main event, Jorge Chavez versus Gucci Man. And I'm uploading that video today. So stay tuned, guys. Yeah, Shannon the Cannon, Brownsville, New York. Shannon could crack too, man. Shannon could crack. Emilio Vargas. That seems like the safe bet. I'm not getting options to for the method of victory. Albazi and Taira. People love Taira, but Albazi is unorthodox. I don't like betting on that guy. Yeah, there's a Discord. It's a couple Boston. If you're America, it's less than, I think it's like $3. The Boston, the link is pinned here. So just click that link that's pinned, and that's the Johnny Says Boxing Insider group, and you'll get access to the Discord. Yeah, next year. Yeah, and even before he had the surgeries, Choi, I don't like betting on that guy. There's certain fight we all have. If you're betting on fights, there's certain fighters that you guys probably avoid. So, Albazi. Oh, you guys getting the odds on Emiliano right now? You guys are talking about Emiliano. Yeah, Emiliano's $1.04. He's fighting Espinoza 13-1. The top ranked card always has these wide odds. If you throw, yeah, there's a 4-legger, $1.67. I'm gonna use Muscles analogy. 10,000 on $1.67 gets you 6,700 back. So if you take Carlos Santana, Rohan Polanco, Xander Zayas, and Emiliano Vargas on the money line, it's $1.71. Hell, 10 grand gets you 7,000 back. You would probably still be sweating some of those fights. Dude, you're always going to sweat a fight. Even if it's $10 to win 300, you're going to watch those sweating. So there's never guarantees. I don't know if you guys are listening to anybody who say that they have a 100% strike rate predicting fights. Nobody does, unless you have a time machine. One of the boys in this chat is in a time machine because he commented a little while ago about he thinks Pacquiao's going to beat Barrios. Yeah, Carlos Santana, Johan. That's what they call him. Blue collar. Do you not know what I'm talking about? That's what they call him, right? Jan Carlos Santana Guerrero. They call him Carlos Santana. We had a Carlos Santana who played for the Indians. So I'm a diehard. I played baseball in college, and I'm a diehard baseball fan. I'm a sports fan, but I'm a Cleveland sports fan. So we had a Carlos Santana for a while. And everybody, he's obviously a great musician, legendary. But yeah, so we are approaching 54 minutes. Guys, do you guys want me to feature? I got about 3 days to do breakdowns. So I'm uploading the Jorge Chavez versus Gucci Man fight today. And then I'm going to do my due diligence and do the Bellotti. Nobody's talked about the Brits. Bellotti versus Reese Bellotti's fight. He's the underdog versus Ryan Gardner. Are you guys interested in that fight? It's because I'm in Australia, I kind of have equal amount of UK subscribers to Aussie subscribers. So I always give the Aussies love and I always give the Brits love. But this matchup has Maxie Hughes versus Archie Sharp written all over it. Reese Bellotti versus Gardner, meaning that one guy's in the mid-30s, you know, who's probably seen the best of his career, which was Maxie, and the other guy's the younger guy who has more hype, which is Gardner, and then it was Archie, and Maxie was the underdog, and we picked Maxie and we won. I don't know how. I know some of the boys. I know Gary from 3D is picking Reese Bellotti in this fight. It's hard for me to bet on Reese Bellotti. What's your opinion on that fight, guys? If you guys are still on this chat. Okay, so Boston has Bellotti as well. Any boys putting Bellotti on your parlay to beat Gardner? I gotta give you a dude. I'm out here. This is what I love to do. I want to hear your opinion on this. No one's brought it up the last 3 live streams. But in terms of odds, so DJ has Bellotti too. DJ, could you give me all right, boys, this is where I use you guys. One of you guys sell me on Bellotti on why he beats Gardner? Because I've seen the tape. I have my own opinions. No, didn't Maxie just fight Archie? And Archie was the younger dude. Archie was, what, 29? I was just comparing it to a Brit domestic level showdown between one guy who's a little bit older versus another guy who was younger, and the older guy's actually the underdog. Was Maxie favored? Okay. Then I got those odds wrong. Maybe I swear that maybe the predictions were making me think that I was wrong. I think Gary might have took Archie in that fight. Garner, okay, DJ, instead of Garner's hand speed, what else does he have on Bellotti? So you're saying Bellotti's better than him everywhere. What do you make of the odds then? Because they've been made. This isn't the first time Ryan Gardner has had a card built around him domestically. So his handlers obviously are trying to tell the people something, at least on a domestic level, because he's had cards built around him before, but internationally, people, whenever his name gets brought up, they just throw him out. So you think Bellotti's better as well? That's wild. So one of my favorite UK channels, he has like 49 subscribers, and he doesn't show his face, but he's a beast with his breakdowns, dude. He's a beast. His name is, I don't even know his name, Axel. he has 10 views on his videos, but when I'm doing my film study on the Brits, I watch his stuff, and I'm like, bro, this dude's a beast. How's he only have like 70 subscribers? But he does the Brits pretty well. And so he's taken, yeah, it's weird. A lot of the Americans are taking Bellotti, but I'm seeing a lot of the Brits taking Gardner. We did lose Berlanga, but we won also. Yeah, Gasville, we still won on that fight though, mate, because we took the fight not to go the distance at $1.90. He's on Berlanga, Shiraz. We hit huge on that prop bet. Gardner throws wide punches and gets countered a lot. All right, it's interesting. Not Ghostface Boxing. His name is Axel. Axel 72. Bellotti has some pop. All right. You guys actually have that. So you have Bellotti on your parlays? Boys in the Discord, let's continue this chat in the Discord. So if you want access to the Discord, guys, and get our, the insider info, a lot of the boys with the blue stars, click the link in this chat. It's a couple bucks a month. You become a Johnny Says Boxing Insider. You get access to the Discord. So, TJ's Chilltown. So TJ says Gardner. And I wonder if that's because he's listening to the Brits too. Because the Brits are saying Gardner, but the Americans are saying Bellotti. Okay, Boston. All right, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to do my own. Okay. DJ. Yeah, because a lot of you guys have different names. Wu-Tang in the house. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bills, y'all. I got Insta. Type in my name on Instagram. JONNYSTOFKO. If you follow me on Insta, you have to send me a DM because there's a lot of people on there. You just have to say, hey Johnny, it's so and so from YouTube. What's crack-a-lackin'? And then I'll follow you back. Okay, guys, we're approaching an hour. I'm about to upload Gucci Mane, and stay tuned. I'm gonna go live one more time today. We're gonna really get into the Jorge Chavez versus Manuel Flores fight. We're gonna get into this Bilotti because the money's good, guys. Just because it's not a mainstream cracker, these odds are nice. Bilotti versus Gardner, so that's why we should look into this. It's why if you're looking at it from an economical standpoint and looking at it from like winning and doubling down on fights, it's a good fight to win money on. So we'll see what happens.